A clock ticks somewhere distant. Ink scratches on paper. In 1920, a patient told me her dream, and I knew immediately something terrible would happen within a week. She dismissed it as nonsense, but my test revealed it was a clear signal. 7 days later, everything I predicted came true, and she understood why I take certain dreams very seriously. Most people treat their dreams like background noise, random images that mean nothing. But in my practice, I learned to separate signal from noise. And what I found changes how you should listen to your own psyche. Not every dream matters, but some dreams are urgent messages from parts of yourself you cannot access while awake. The question is not whether dreams have meaning. The question is which ones demand your attention right now. I want you to think about your last vivid dream. The one you still remember clearly. Can you recall it? If you can remember it days or weeks later without effort, that is your first clue. Your psyche does not waste energy preserving random noise. If the dream faded within an hour of waking, it was probably just neural housekeeping, your brain sorting through the day's debris. But if the dream stayed with you, if specific images or feelings refuse to leave, your unconscious is trying to tell you something it cannot say any other way. That patient I mentioned came to me in early spring. Her name was Margaret, 34 years old. She dreamed of a dark room filling with water while she stood frozen, unable to move her legs. She told me this casually, as if reporting the weather, but I noticed her hands trembling as she spoke. I asked her a simple question. Do you feel trapped in your waking life? She laughed it off. No, everything is fine, perfectly fine. That word, perfectly, told me everything. People who say perfectly fine are usually drowning. Within the week, her marriage collapsed. Her husband had been unfaithful for months. She had known somewhere deep down, but her conscious mind refused to see it. The dream was her psyche screaming what her ego could not bear to hear. This is what I mean by signal. A dream is a warning when it shows you something your conscious mind is actively avoiding. It bypasses your defenses and delivers truth in symbols. Here is the test I developed. When you wake from a vivid dream, ask yourself 3 questions. First, does this dream show me in a situation I recognize from my waking life? Not literally, but emotionally. Margaret was not literally drowning, but she was emotionally paralyzed in a situation filling her with dread. Second, what emotion dominated the dream? Fear, anger, sadness, joy? That emotion is often the signal itself. Your unconscious does not speak in words. It speaks in feelings your conscious mind has been suppressing. Third, what action did you take or fail to take in the dream? Were you frozen like Margaret? Were you running? Were you hiding? That action or inaction often mirrors how you are handling something in your real life. If you can answer yes to the first question and identify clear emotions and actions in the second and third, you are likely dealing with a signal, not noise. But here is what most people miss. The content of the dream is not the message. The content is the wrapping paper. You have to unwrap it to find what is inside. Margaret's dream was not about water. It was about paralysis in the face of emotional drowning. I kept detailed records of dreams that proved to be warnings. The pattern became undeniable. People dreamed of bridges collapsing before major life transitions they were resisting. They dreamed of being chased before confronting situations they had been avoiding. They dreamed of losing teeth before communication breakdowns in important relationships. Your unconscious mind sees patterns. Your conscious mind filters out. It notices changes in behavior, tone, energy. It processes thousands of small signals you consciously ignore. And when those signals reach a critical mass, the unconscious sends a dream to force you to pay attention. This is not mysticism. This is your brain's early warning system working exactly as it should. The problem is most people were never taught to read the warnings. If you want to learn more about how your psyche communicates, there is much more to explore. Think about the last time you ignored a gut feeling and later regretted it. That feeling was your unconscious trying to communicate. Dreams are the same mechanism, just louder. Your psyche escalates when you refuse to listen to quieter signals. So when a dream refuses to leave you, sit with it. Write it down in as much detail as you can remember. Not to analyze it to death, but to show your unconscious you are listening. This simple act often brings clarity within hours. Now let me show you the difference between signal and noise with a practical example. If you dream about flying, it probably means nothing unless the feeling of flying connects to something specific in your waking life. Maybe you just got freedom from a restrictive situation. Maybe you are about to take a risk that terrifies and excites you. The flying itself is neutral. The feeling it gives you is the signal. But if you dream about falling and you wake in a cold sweat and that feeling of loss of control mirrors something happening right now in your work or relationships, that is a warning. Your unconscious is telling you that something is slipping beyond your grasp and you need to take action. I spent years documenting these patterns in my journal. Every morning before seeing patients, I would review my own dreams first. This practice taught me something fundamental about how the psyche communicates under pressure. The unconscious does not care about your schedule or your preferences. When it has something urgent to tell you, it will keep sending the message until you listen. I watched this happen again and again in my practice. One patient dreamed of his teeth crumbling for 3 months straight. Every night, the same terror. He would touch his mouth and feel fragments falling away. When I asked about communication in his marriage, he admitted they had not had a real conversation in years. Everything was surface-level pleasantries and logistics. I told him the dream would not stop until he addressed what it was showing him. He resisted at first, but the dreams intensified. Soon he was dreaming of his jaw disintegrating entirely. Finally, he sat his wife down and had the difficult conversation they had both been avoiding. The dream stopped that night. Stay with me, because the next part changes how you should respond to these warnings. Most people make a critical mistake when they recognize a warning dream. They panic, or they try to force an immediate solution. Both responses miss the point. The dream is not telling you to panic. It is telling you to become conscious of something you have been avoiding. I had a patient, Thomas, 41. He dreamed repeatedly of being late to an important meeting he could not find. He would wander endless hallways, growing more desperate. When he told me this, I asked what in his life he felt he was running out of time for. He went silent. Then he admitted he had been postponing a difficult conversation with his aging father for months. The dream was not about meetings. It was about time running out to say things that needed to be said. I gave him a simple instruction. Within 48 hours, make the call. Have the conversation, even if it is uncomfortable. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Just begin. He did, and the dream stopped immediately. This is what I mean by taking action. Not solving everything overnight. Just acknowledging what your psyche is trying to show you and taking one small step toward it. But I want to be clear. Not all recurring dreams are warnings. The difference lies in urgency. Warning dreams carry weight. A businessman dreamed of an empty office at night, knowing he had forgotten something crucial. His unconscious knew he was ignoring his wife's wish to stay near her elderly parents for a promotion. Once he recognized this, he turned down the promotion and felt profound relief. This happens more than people realize. Your rational mind builds a case for what it thinks you should want. Meanwhile, your unconscious keeps sending dreams about what you actually need. The gap between these two creates enormous psychological tension. In my years of practice, I noticed something fascinating. People who ignored their warning dreams did not just miss opportunities or avoid problems. They often ended up in crises that could have been prevented entirely. Their unconscious had been screaming the warning for weeks or months, but they kept hitting the snooze button. Think about your own life right now. Is there a decision you keep postponing? A conversation you keep avoiding? Your dreams are probably already showing you the cost of that delay. If you are interested in understanding more of these patterns, I encourage you to explore further. There is much to learn about how your psyche speaks to you. Here is the adjustment I recommend. Before sleep tonight, tell yourself clearly that you want to remember your dreams. Keep pen and paper next to your bed. When you wake, before you move, before you check anything, write down whatever fragments you remember. Do not judge them. Do not try to interpret them yet. Just record them. Do this for 1 week. By the end, you will start noticing patterns, recurring images, repeated emotions. These are your personal symbols, the language your unconscious uses to speak to you. Once you learn this language, warnings become impossible to miss. But I must warn you about something else. Some people start seeing warnings in every dream once they learn this. That is noise pretending to be signal. True warnings have weight. They feel urgent. They connect clearly to something unresolved in your waking life. The test is specificity. Can you connect the dream's emotional core to a specific current situation? If yes, signal. If you are reaching, if the connection feels forced, probably noise. I also noticed that warning dreams tend to repeat or escalate if ignored. Your first warning might be subtle. A vague sense of unease in the dream. If you ignore it, the next dream will be more intense. Your unconscious turns up the volume until you finally listen. Margaret's water dream was not her first warning. She had been dreaming of locked doors and forgotten keys for weeks before, but she dismissed those as meaningless. By the time the drowning dream arrived, her unconscious was screaming. Most people wait until the screaming phase. You do not have to. Pay attention to the quiet warnings, and you can address problems before they become crises. A young woman, Anna, came to me describing dreams of discovering new rooms in her house. At first exciting, then darker, more cluttered. I asked what was expanding in her life. A new relationship that had become serious quickly. The cluttered rooms were her unconscious showing aspects of his character she had not seen initially. She observed carefully. The dreams shifted to locked chests and covered mirrors. Eventually she learned he had been lying about significant things. The dreams had been warning her from the beginning. When she finally ended the relationship, her dreams changed completely. Gardens and open skies. Her psyche celebrating the decision her conscious mind had been afraid to make. But here is something I learned. Your dreams often know the solution before your conscious mind does. A woman dreamed of planting seeds in frozen ground. When we explored it, she realized her timing was wrong for a business venture she was forcing. She waited, and 6 months later, when conditions changed, the idea flourished. Your unconscious is not just warning you, it is often guiding you. I kept records of dreams that seemed predictive. These dreams rarely predicted external events. Instead, they predicted psychological consequences of current trajectories. A man dreamed of his house burning down. Months later, his business partnership collapsed catastrophically. The dream showed what would happen to his sense of security if he ignored growing tensions. Before we close, I want you to ask yourself one question. What dream have you been dismissing that might actually be trying to tell you something important? Not every dream, just the one that keeps coming back, or the one that felt different from the usual mental noise. If a specific dream comes to mind right now, that itself is significant. If you have learned to recognize the difference between signal and noise in your dreams, you have gained access to wisdom most people never find. Your unconscious becomes an ally instead of a mystery. I have spent decades listening to what dreams reveal. The people who learn to work with their dreams, instead of ignoring them, make better decisions. They see problems coming before those problems arrive. They understand themselves at a depth that transforms how they move through life. This is not about becoming obsessed with dream interpretation. This is about respecting the fact that a significant part of your intelligence operates below conscious awareness, and it is trying to help you if you will only learn its language. Your relationship with your dreams mirrors your relationship with your unconscious. If you treat your dreams as meaningless noise, you are telling your unconscious you do not want to hear what it has to say. But if you show your unconscious that you are listening, the communication becomes clearer. The symbols become easier to read. Your conscious and unconscious minds begin working together instead of against each other. The tape keeps running. Somewhere a clock still ticks. But now you know the question to ask when you wake from a dream that will not leave you. Is this signal or is this noise? And you know how to find the answer.